Doing something greater than yourself for somebody else actually helps you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the themes of the Blue Zones, and I think that companies follow it.
Okay, welcome back. We're here for part 2 in Circee Health Pod's exciting delve into the world of Konkani food and culture, sponsored by Ajoy Prabhu. So we are just about getting into the actual dishes, some examples of the inherently 99.9% inherently vegan, plant-based Konkani food.
I just want to say something. You keep saying the word vegan, but if you look at Sardinia or Nicoya, they all eat a small amount of meat, right?
Right.
So
Konkanis eat a
Konkanis do
small
this.
amount.
Well, not
many
actually.
Konkanis,
Yeah, not all, but yeah, some Konkanis eat a small amount of fish.
Small amount of fish and a small amount of dairy in the form of tak, right?
Yeah, tak or curds.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only dairy that we see. There's like 12 or 15 dishes that are served, and it's incredible the variety. There's
all vegetables,
legumes, there's vegetables, there's dal, there's fruit, there's a little bit of fried stuff, which is delicious, but of course not as healthy as the rest. There's rice, there's maybe sometimes other grains, there's often something that's sprouted. And there's usually something that's fermented also. So all of those categories.
Is always there, pickle.
Yeah, and I think if most people hear Udupi food or Konkani food, probably the first thing they think of is the dosa, right? That's probably the most famous. So why don't we start with that? So dosa, idli, uttapa. So dosa and idli, my two favorite Konkani foods, are incredible for you because number one, they're full of protein, right? So depending on how you make your dosa and idli, if you add more ratio of...
Depends on which kind of dosa also.
Right, there's different types, So it depends how much lentils are in the process of making the idli and the dosa. So meaning you soak that with rice and then it ferments and then you create it. So, and then there's the other half of that is the fermentation. So we've talked before about why fermented foods are so good for you, but do you want to remind everyone, Ajoy?
Yeah, I just want to remind you guys that if we remember from one of our old episodes, I talked about a guy called Mechnikov. He was, I don't remember where, like Ukraine or some that region of the world. He discovered 100 years ago or more that people who ate fermented foods lived longer. And then it just sat by the wayside till our medical scientists discovered that actually when you ferment something, it has a ton of probiotics. Probiotics are the basically like things that our gut bacteria loves. Our intestinal, the good bacteria that are metabolizing all the food that we ate. And so this is like a vitamin boost to them when you give them fermented foods. So which is a great thing.
Right. So tons of fermented foods in Konkani cuisine. And it's not just the traditional dosa and the traditional idli. I always think of your mom, and when I stayed with them for 6 weeks, and I'm pretty sure she made a different idli or dosa every single day for breakfast.
There's also pickle. There's there are other fermented foods also.
Yeah, delicious pickles, which a lot of them are water-based, so there isn't even any oil in them, so they're super healthy. Almost like Konkani kimchi, if you will.
Yeah, or Konkani sauerkraut, Yeah, kimchi is closer. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so I think we've talked enough about the fermented foods. I mentioned earlier about my favorite food group, the legume. So it's not just dal. Of course, dal is ubiquitous. Dali toy, which is the staple of Konkani cuisine. It's tur dal with a particular type of panna or tadka put in it, or tempering, whatever you want to call it. But if you look in our pantry, and I'll talk more about our pantry maybe a little later.
One because it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, you're right. So we'll talk about the Konkani pantry in a separate talk, or this will be a 4-hour podcast. But anyway, ton of beans, not just dal. So different types of dal: urad dal, tur dal, masoor dal, moong dal.
And then there are some dals that you don't whole. There are whole beans.
Horse gram or kulit. Yeah. I mean, tons of different dals, but also the beans themselves. So,
bagada.
Yeah, bagada, which is black-eyed peas, chickpeas, of course. So many different beans. I mean, I literally have a whole drawer.
And a whole bunch
I have a whole drawer of just beans and and lentils. So it's used, of course, I use it for other Indian food too, but mostly in my Konkani cooking. So legumes are there, providing their glorious fiber and protein and vitamins.
And probiotics.
And probiotics, yes. And then also a big component of Konkani cuisine is, I guess, the cold dishes or salads, whatever you want to call them. And so, they use, I guess, I don't want to call it a cold dish because it's not necessarily a raw dish, but like, for example, goju, which is my favorite, particularly the eggplant version, where the eggplant is roasted over an open fire and charred, and you take the inside and put some delicious...
like a bharta.
Yeah, like a bharta, but
it's not with masalas.
Version, yeah.
So it has
less ingredients, but I think it's more flavorful.
3 or 4 ingredients, right? 3 ingredients maybe.
Yeah, it's delicious. And then you can also do that with potato, which was my mom's favorite. There's also kishmuri, which is a different type of salad. You can make that with bitter gourd. You can make that with carrot. You can make it with other vegetables. Those are the 2 that I think of primarily. So there's also a salad component. Salad doesn't have to be a boring, romaine lettuce with Italian dressing. It can be a delicious vitamin and colorful component of your meal. So lucky to have that in Konkani cuisine. What else is there? What can you think of, Ajoy? Also, I'm missing I don't want to forget a big part. One of my favorite components of my favorite dishes, Konkani dishes, uses masol or masala. So
masala is not the bunch of dry powdered.
Yeah, it's
what she means.
It's more the rasa or the juice, I guess, that is the base for whatever you're cooking, whether it's lentils or beans or veggies or a combination of all of those. So a lot of those contain coconut or imli or tamarind, fenugreek, coriander, red, of course, chilies are in there, and I have a specific grinder just to make my masol for my Konkani dishes. Also, when we're talking about something that has I just mentioned a combination of all of those, another dish that probably everyone knows is sambar, right? So sambar, I think, is one of the perfect foods. It has
It's
lentils.
Not exclusive to Konkanis, obviously.
Right, it's not, but you can't have idli without sambar, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So it has veggies, it has root vegetables, it has green vegetables, it has lentils, of course, it has spices. So it's a beautiful dish. And what about the sambar powder? Isn't there something special about that?
Yeah, so I think it's like the mole in Mexico. We Konkanis probably have every couple of families will have a specific type of way of making their sambar powder. So their ingredients might be slightly different, and therefore their sambar will taste slightly different. And it's not just, I'm not talking about the difference between a Tamilian sambar versus a Kerala sambar versus Konkani sambar. I'm talking about within the Konkani community, you will find little differences in the way they make the sambar.
Yeah, so I mean, we could probably go on forever, and I think when we talk about...
one more.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. So we talked about a lot about the food. We never talked about any drinks. So in Konkani cuisine, we use like especially when you have pujas or some. This used to be the case. Now of course it's substituted with soft drinks, which is not a great idea. They serve cold water with jaggery, pepper, sometimes honey, and so on. And I guess it's kashai is a very common word, even in other regions. But it's really good for you. It doesn't have the refined sugar. It has jaggery in it. It's a cold drink. It's a cold drink.
Okay, just means cold drink.
It's just a cold drink with kind of like the kokum that you get, kokum sharbat and all. It's like that, except it has, I guess you've not had it frequently enough. It's kind of going out of fashion, unfortunately. But it has jaggery in it, usually jaggery and pepper and some other ingredients. It's really good for health.
Yeah, so do you want to, I think we've given a good general overview about Konkani food, and we'll definitely do another one just on Konkani dishes and the Konkani pantry, what we keep at home.
Yeah.
So you can...
If there's an interest from the audience.
Yeah, if there's an interest.
Otherwise,
of course, we find it interesting. But if you want to know, we can share some of our secrets with you. So now I'll turn it over to you, Ajoy, since I'm always talking about the food. Do you want to talk a little more about the culture and why we
Yeah,
think
so
it should be a
yeah,
nominee for Blue Zones?
yeah, I'll tell you why it should be a nominee for Blue Zones because really, inherently, like you said, we are plant-based. Very little curd, very little seafood. That should technically be wonderful for us. But what lands up happening, I'm sorry, I just want to make this mention this, and then I'll go on to some of the other areas of the Blue Zone that I think Konkanis follow. And that is the fact that we, over the years, are not following the kind of diet that our Konkani ancestors used to have, which is a lot more greens, a lot more lentils, and less of the rice, I guess, rice and curds and stuff. If you follow more of that, we actually have patients or clients that have actually reversed their condition because they primarily ate Konkani food and they were wondering what to do, and yet they could do this, right? So they could actually reverse their disease conditions by just eating better Konkani food. So therefore, I think we are
Better
not.
meaning more whole food plant-based.
Yes, yes, okay, yes, whole food plant-based. Coming to other aspects of the Blue Zone. If you remember about the Blue Zones, one of the things that the Blue Zone people do is they're fairly carefree, and they don't worry too much. So if you go to any of the villages surrounding Udupi, which is where my parents are from, you'll see that attitude. People are a lot more easygoing. They don't unnecessarily stress themselves on about something or the other. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. They move on. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is the fact that we are a close knit community. So we are always whenever we go to the village. Do you remember, like let's say if you go for like 4 or 5 days, out of those 3 or 4 days are in the temple.
Yeah.
So doing a religious service.
Yeah.
In the temple, which
Religion's
is also
very important.
very important to Konkanis,
Yes.
and that kind of helps, and it's very very reflective of Blue Zone actually. And then Konkanis are also very they serve the community a lot. So if you look at all the educational institutions that are proliferating right now,
Also in healthcare, I can think
health
of a lot of
healthcare, finance,
NGOs and
banks,
that are helping. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So there's a lot of and I remember, I mean, right here we have a lot of camps, right? Companies do a lot of camps for the poor and so on. So doing something greater than yourself for somebody else actually helps you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the themes of the Blue Zones, and I think that companies follow it. So
yeah, and I guess you mentioned already, but as coming in as, I guess, an outsider, have noticed how close Konkanis are and how proud of their culture and how close knit they are. They're very proud of their community and their history. And also, one of my favorite
oh, there
subjects,
we go. I can make out.
fasting. So,
Right.
I think like every Hindu culture, fasting is very, so this is not exclusive to Konkanis.
Yeah,
Fasting is important, and fasting is practice. That's probably how I was introduced to fasting, was during the certain holidays and certain pujas. You do practice actual fasting
But you do a full fasting, no upvas, like where I'll eat something and call it fasting.
Right.
So, yeah.
And now, especially now that I've learned what quote unquote real fasting is, I do actually do real fasting. So fasting is important with a healthy body and a healthy mind. So that's also seen. And I think actually in other Blue Zones, there isn't much fasting, right?
That's true.
So maybe this is another feather in the cap of Konkanis would make Mangalore, Udupi, Kerala, Goa another Blue Zone of the world.
Well,
just saying, if anyone's listening out there.
The only issue with that is that I think we need to really go back to the food of our ancestors, number one. Number two is we need to do a couple of more things. I mean, since you brought this up, I might as well tell you that, for example, yes, in the villages right outside surrounding Mangalore and Udupi area, people walk. I mean, you can see them on the highways walking from miles and miles just to get to the other village, right? So that's there.
People sit on the floor instead of a chair or reclining on the sofa. They actually sit on the floor.
So that brings more mobility to your joints and when you're eating, etc. No matter how rich or poor you are, you always, whenever you have a community gathering, you sit on the floor and eat. So that also helps. But this kind of leads me to talk about the micro exercises that we always, at least that's one of my favorite subjects. Is saying, instead of going on a treadmill or running, jogging, or weightlifting or something. And these guys actually do the work in their villages just like the way they should be, and they live a healthy life. Longevity wise, if we were to go back, a few years, or maybe a few generations, it would help.
Yeah. One other thing with which I know, which I've noticed, again, not just with Konkanis, but I guess with Indians in general, since we've moved to India, I've realized this more, is we talked about with the other blue zones taking a nap in the day, right?
Yeah.
So we always like to preface that by saying, yes, a nap is good, but don't make it a 4-hour nap.
Yes.
But napping on the good side overall relaxes you and kind of resets you for the day, and it just, less stress in general when you take a nap.
Yeah,
so
don't worry too much about this.
Napping is a good thing, and I'm trying to embrace that napping is a good thing. That is not easy for me as a type A to embrace, but I am trying.
Yeah, good. Okay, I think we've kind of gone over a fairly big brush strokes about how the community. The Konkani community in particular does this, and I want to again say, this is the third or fourth time that when we were to the northeast, or you go to like Madhya Pradesh, or like go to smaller villages, you'll find something similar. It's just that we're not familiar with it, so therefore
we're planning to learn.
Yeah, we're planning to learn, but also
you.
I guarantee you some of the things that we just said, I'm sure somebody or the other one of our astute listeners might say, hey, our community does the same thing, which is great.
Yeah,
which is absolutely
and please let us know.
Yeah.
And also please let us know what you think of our pitch deck for Konkani, the Konkani region, to be nominated for the next blue zone of the world, because I'm already making my t-shirts and banners. So if you'd like to join me, just let me know.
Okay, on that note, I think we should say goodbye.
Yes, that concludes our exciting Circee Health Pod episode. And we'll come back with more exciting topics.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
We really hope you enjoyed our conversation. Can you think about one thing or an idea that you can start to introduce into your own life that will help make your life healthier and less stressful?
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you can take a few seconds to share the podcast with your friends and families. Thank you so much for listening.
And always remember, your health is literally in your own hands. Making lifestyle changes is not an easy task, but we promise you will be aptly rewarded with a long, healthy, and disease-free life.